August 14th, 1963. The mall set in Nice. Claudia Cardinale sat in the dressing room that belonged to Brigitte Bardot, waiting for her makeup call. Brigitte wasn't on this production. She'd filmed here 2 months earlier, but the room still had traces of her. A lipstick left behind, a scarf on a hook, the faint scent of her perfume. Claudia was 25, rising fast, beautiful, talented, Italian cinema's new golden girl, and constantly compared to Brigitte Bardot, the Italian Bardot. Can Cardinale match Bardot's magnetism? Europe's 2 most beautiful women. Claudia hated the comparisons, felt diminished by them, reduced to Brigitte's shadow. She was adjusting her position on the small sofa when something shifted. The wall panel behind her moved slightly. Curious, she pressed it. It swung open, a small hidden compartment, maybe 6 inches deep. Inside, a leather-bound journal, small, no more than 30 pages, some loose papers tucked inside. Claudia knew immediately whose it was. Brigitte's handwriting on the first page. If found, please burn without reading. The ethical choice was obvious. Close it, put it back, pretend she'd never seen it. Claudia opened it anyway. The first entry was dated June 3rd, 2 months earlier. I've been crying for 3 days straight. Not performance crying, real crying. The kind that comes from so deep inside, you don't know how to stop it. Nobody knows. I smile during the day and cry all night, and nobody knows. Sometimes I think about what would happen if I just disappeared. Not suicide. I've tried that, and apparently I'm not even good at dying, just disappearing. Getting on a train to nowhere. Becoming someone else. Someone normal. Someone who doesn't have to wake up every day and be Brigitte Bardot. Claudia's hands were shaking. This wasn't what she expected. Not glamorous confessions or romantic adventures. This was raw pain. She should have stopped. Should have closed the journal and put it back, but she kept reading. June 8. Today a director told me I was not trying hard enough to look natural. I wanted to scream. I've forgotten what natural feels like. Everything is performance now. Even alone, I'm performing. I don't know how to just exist without an audience anymore. June 12th. Someone called me the most beautiful woman in the world today. It made me want to destroy my face. Because if I'm not beautiful anymore, maybe they'd leave me alone. Maybe I could just be a person. Claudia felt sick. These weren't the thoughts of someone living a dream. These were the thoughts of someone in crisis. June 19th. I counted today. In the last 7 years, I've been photographed without my permission 4,127 times. That's just the times I've noticed. There are probably thousands more. My face belongs to strangers. My body belongs to cameras. I belong to everyone except myself. June 24th. Had a panic attack during filming. Locked myself in the bathroom for 40 minutes. They think I was being difficult. The truth, I was having a breakdown. But I can't tell anyone that because breakdowns aren't glamorous. They're just proof you're weak. And weakness is the one thing Brigitte Bardot isn't allowed to be. Claudia was crying now, reading Brigitte's private pain, seeing behind the image she'd envied for years. All the times Claudia had thought, Brigitte has everything. Why can't I have what she has? And here was the truth. Brigitte had nothing, or worse, she had everything except herself. The final entry was dated July 28th, 2 weeks before Claudia found the journal. I'm leaving this diary here because I can't keep it with me anymore. If I keep reading my own words, I'll remember how broken I am. And I need to keep performing not broken for a little while longer. If someone finds this and reads it, I don't blame you. Curiosity is human, but please understand, these are the things I can't say out loud, the thoughts that would destroy the illusion, the truth that nobody wants from Brigitte Bardot. They want beauty, confidence, sex, fantasy. They don't want broken, scared, empty, real. So I perform what they want, and I write what's real, and I hide the real where nobody will find it. Except someone did find it. You did. And now you know. Brigitte Bardot is a lie, and the person underneath that lie is barely holding on. Claudia closed the journal, put it back in the hidden compartment, sat in silence, processing what she'd read. For years, she'd envied Brigitte, resented the comparisons, wanted Brigitte's fame, beauty, success. And Brigitte, beneath all of that, was drowning. There was a knock on the door. "Miss Cardinale, they're ready for you." Claudia stood, wiped her eyes, put on the performance of being fine, just like Brigitte did every day. For 30 years, Claudia carried what she'd read. She never told anyone, never mentioned it in interviews, never used it for gossip or leverage, but she also never forgot it. Every time someone compared her to Brigitte, Claudia thought about that diary, about the price Brigitte paid for being the most beautiful woman in the world. And Claudia started making different choices. She said no to projects that felt exploitative, set boundaries with photographers, protected her privacy fiercely. When journalists asked why she wasn't as accessible as Bardot, Claudia would say, "I'm protecting something Brigitte couldn't protect, myself." They never understood what she meant. In 1975, Claudia and Brigitte worked together briefly on a charity project. They were polite, professional, distant. Claudia wanted to say something, wanted to apologize for reading the diary, wanted to tell Brigitte she understood now. But how do you admit you violated someone's privacy, and that violation changed your life? So Claudia said nothing. And the moment passed. Years accumulated. The guilt remained. Claudia would see photos of Brigitte, retired, living quietly, working with animals, and think, she survived. She found a way out. And Claudia would remember the diary, the raw pain, the barely holding on desperation. And she'd think, I should tell her, I should apologize, I should let her know that her pain wasn't invisible, that someone saw it, that it mattered. But she never did. In 1993, 30 years after finding the diary, Claudia finally wrote a letter. She was 55 years old. Brigitte was 58, both long past their peaks, both navigating what it meant to age after being young and beautiful in the public eye. The letter took Claudia 3 weeks to write. She drafted it 12 times before finding words that felt right. "Dear Brigitte, I need to confess something I did 30 years ago. In August 1963, I used your dressing room on a film set in Nice. I found a hidden compartment. Inside was your diary. I read it. Not all of it, maybe 10 pages, but enough. I'm writing to apologize for violating your privacy, for reading words you explicitly asked to be burned without reading, for carrying this secret for 30 years without having the courage to confess. But I'm also writing to tell you something you may not know. Your pain wasn't invisible. Your struggle wasn't unwitnessed. Your truth, even hidden in a diary behind a wall panel, mattered. What I read that day changed my life. I'd spent years envying you, resenting the comparisons, wanting what you had. Your diary showed me what you actually had. Fame that felt like prison, beauty that felt like burden, success that cost everything. And it made me choose differently. I protected myself in ways you couldn't. I said no in situations you couldn't escape. I survived because I saw what survival was costing you. I know this doesn't excuse what I did. Reading your private pain without permission was wrong. But I wanted you to know, it wasn't wasted. Your honesty, even accidentally discovered, saved someone. It saved me. I'm sorry for violating your trust. And I'm grateful for the wisdom I found in your pain. With deep respect and apology, Claudia. She sent the letter to Brigitte's animal sanctuary. Didn't expect a response. 3 weeks later, one came. Dear Claudia, I remember that diary. I'd forgotten I left it there. Forgot that someone might have found it. Forgot that my private pain might have been witnessed. I should be angry. You violated my privacy. Read words I wanted destroyed. Carried that knowledge for 30 years without telling me. But I'm not angry. I'm relieved. For 30 years, you've known that Brigitte Bardot was suffering, that the image was a lie, that the person underneath was breaking, and you never used it against me. Never sold the story, never told journalists, never weaponized my vulnerability. You just carried it and let it change you, and made different choices because of what you saw. That's not violation, that's witnessing. And maybe I needed someone to witness, even accidentally. You asked if your reading it was wasted. It wasn't, because you saw the truth and responded with compassion instead of exploitation. That's rare. Thank you for finally telling me. And thank you for letting my pain, hidden though it was, matter. You don't need forgiveness, because I'm not angry. But if you need to hear it, I forgive you. More than that, I'm grateful you found it. Grateful someone knew the truth. Grateful I wasn't as invisible as I felt. With understanding, Brigitte, Claudia cried, reading that response. 30 years of guilt released, but more than that, validation that what she'd done wrong though it was, had created something meaningful. Connection across decades, understanding between two women who'd both survived the same machinery. They met for coffee 3 months later, December 19, a quiet cafe in Paris. Two women in their 50s, no longer the beauties the world had obsessed over, finally able to talk honestly. I've thought about that diary often, Claudia said. Whether I should have told you immediately, I'm glad you didn't. Brigitte interrupted. In 1963, I wasn't ready to know someone had seen my truth. It would have devastated me. But now it feels like proof I survived. Proof that my pain was real, that I wasn't being dramatic or weak, that what I was experiencing was genuine struggle, not ingratitude. They talked for 3 hours about survival, about the cost of beauty, about the machinery that consumed them both. I made different choices because of what I read, Claudia confessed. Protected myself in ways you couldn't. I always felt guilty about that. Like I'd stolen your lessons without your permission. You didn't steal them, you learned from them. That's what wisdom is, learning from others' pain so you don't have to repeat it. Do you wish you'd made different choices? Protected yourself more, every day? But I didn't have your advantage. I didn't have someone else's diary to read. I had to learn through experiencing it. You got to learn through witnessing it. That's not theft. That's grace. Before they parted, Brigitte gave Claudia something, a small package. Don't open it until you get home. Claudia agreed. They hugged. Promised to stay in touch. Meant it this time. At home, Claudia opened the package. Inside, a leather-bound journal, new, blank, and a note. You read my diary without permission. Now I'm giving you one with permission. Write your truth. Hide it or share it. Your choice, but write it. Because our truths matter, even the ones we're afraid to speak. And if someone finds yours someday, I hope they respond with the same compassion you showed me. By keeping it sacred, by learning from it, by letting it change them without exploiting it. Thank you for witnessing my pain and for letting it mean something. B. In 2004, a journalist asked Claudia about Brigitte Bardot. You've both been compared throughout your careers. How do you feel about those comparisons now? I understand them differently. We were both young, beautiful, trapped in an industry that commodified us. The comparisons were designed to make us competitors. But we're not. We're survivors of the same system. Did you ever become friends? Yes. Later in life, after we both escaped the machinery. What changed? I learned that Brigitte and I weren't different. We were the same, both struggling, both performing, both barely holding on behind the images they'd created of us. How did you learn that? Claudia smiled. Someone showed me the truth, and I finally had the courage to acknowledge it. In 2012, after Claudia published her memoir, a journalist asked about the diary incident. You wrote about finding Brigitte's diary. That's a significant confession. It was a significant violation, but also a significant gift to both of us. How was it a gift to her? Because she learned that her pain wasn't invisible, that someone had witnessed her struggle and responded with compassion instead of exploitation, that even hidden behind walls, her truth had mattered. And to you, it taught me that beauty and fame are prisons disguised as privilege, that survival requires saying no, that the person behind the image is always more important than the image itself. Do you regret reading it? I regret the violation, but I'm grateful for what I learned. Both can be true. Claudia Cardinale found Brigitte Bardot's diary. What she read made her apologize years later. August 1963. A hidden compartment. A leather journal. 10 pages of raw, desperate truth. Claudia read it. Violated Brigitte's privacy. Witnessed her pain without permission. For 30 years, she carried that guilt, that knowledge, that burden of seeing someone's truth they'd tried to hide. But she also carried the lesson, made different choices, protected herself in ways Brigitte couldn't, survived with boundaries Brigitte never learned to set. In 1993, 30 years later, Claudia finally confessed, finally apologized, and Brigitte, instead of anger, offered understanding, relief, gratitude, because someone had witnessed her pain, had seen the truth behind the image, had known that Brigitte Bardot was suffering even when she performed perfection, and that witnessing, even accidental, even unauthorized, had mattered. It saved Claudia from repeating Brigitte's mistakes. It validated Brigitte's experience decades later. It created connection between two women the world had tried to pit against each other. One diary, 10 pages, 30 years of guilt, and finally, forgiveness, understanding, recognition that sometimes our private pain, even when violated, can become someone else's salvation. If they respond to it with compassion instead of exploitation. Claudia did, and both women, survivor and witness, were transformed by that choice.